Hi and welcome. My name is Spiro and I'm a consultant specializing in helping organizations implement Microsoft projects. If you are looking for a solution to analyze and manage your organization's projects and their resource needs, then the following presentation is for you. Without further hesitation, let's go directly into this brief demonstration. I would like to begin by providing you an overview of where the resource engagement feature fits with respect to the project lifecycle. A typical project lifecycle is as follows. Here in our demo, there are essentially 5 phases. They are the initiate, select, plan, and manage phase, which comprises of the execute, monitor, and control phases of a project, and finally, terminating with the closure phase. Resource engagement, or commitment of resources and their associated activities, are typically done within the planning phase. However, during the execution of a project, the need to replan and recommit resources, particularly human resources, of course, often occurs. As such, the need to return and resort to the associated processes with respect to committing resources may often happen while the project is in the execution phase. Note that in version 2016 of Microsoft's Portfolio and Project Management Solution, PPM for short, the resource engagement feature can be used to provide a project with a high-level resource plan in order to evaluate the resource requirements on an initiative or business case that has not yet been approved. Such would be the case during the selection phase, so watch for the portfolio analysis feature that I will be demonstrating in a future video in support of the select phase. But for this video, we will concentrate on what takes place typically in the planning phase with respect to securing resources for our projects to ensure we meet the gate requirements that will enable us to enter the execution phase and begin work on the assignments that have been scheduled. In essence, there are 2 key players in this demo, a project manager and a resource manager. Beginning with a resource requirement, we will see the project manager set up a resource engagement request and submit to a resource manager who will in turn review and decide on a course of action. In going through this process, we will also demonstrate the analysis that can be performed using some of PPM's powerful features to help us quickly identify the appropriate resources. Here we have a project plan open in Microsoft Project Pro 2016. The project was recently initiated from a template. As such, the resources assigned to the various activities are generic roles. In this particular instance, we can see that the upfront resource requirements require a product engineer. As such, we will use this resource in our demonstration. Having planned staff with generic roles provides an organization the ability to forecast what the resource requirements are over time. In this manner, with a consolidated view of an organization's resource requirements for their entire portfolio, an organization is in a better position to take the necessary business decisions to enable it to meet its strategic objectives. In this scenario, the project manager will use Microsoft Project to help him or her find available team members to perform the required activities. Given that this is a matrix organization, the project manager will collaborate with the organization's resource managers when seeking to commit resources to their project or projects. The resource managers are essentially the gatekeepers for those teams, ensuring that their respective team members are allocated accordingly. That is, ensuring that their team members are optimally assigned to meet the organization's objectives. This also means ensuring that team members are not overcommitted, resulting in delays and missed deadlines for the projects that they are assigned to. In this demonstration, I will show you how Microsoft's solution effectively supports both the project manager and the resource manager in the commitment process. We will begin by launching the Build Team from Enterprise feature, which permits us to connect to the common resource pool to find available resources to assign to the project's activities. From the resource ribbon, click the Add Resources button and select Build Team for Enterprise. Control-T is the shortcut. There are 2 windows with a list of names in Build Team. On the right are the resources that are connected to this project file, and on the left are those that are centralized on the project server. By selecting the product engineer and then clicking on the Match button, the left window will display resources that have the same role. That is, they are defined as product engineers. See how the list on the left has been reduced to a half a dozen names? By selecting a resource and then clicking the Details button, you can confirm this from the Custom Fields tab within the Resource Information window that opens up. if you navigate to the Customize Filter section and open it, you will see that the filter has been set accordingly. Now, let's proceed and see how an analysis can be performed by the project manager to try and find resources that he or she can proactively request of the resource manager to expedite and help fulfill the role of the product engineer for this project. Note, the analysis that we're about to perform is not limited to the project manager, but it is also available and typically performed by resource managers or whomever has been granted access to these features by the system administrator and the operational policies that are in place. With the product engineering resources selected, I will click the graph button. We're now taken to the project web app. This is the browser interface for this Microsoft Project Enterprise solution. Here, we're in a view called the Resource Utilization View. This view consists of a stacked histogram that represents the work assigned to the selected resources for each period within a select time frame. Now, near the top of this histogram, there's also a horizontal blue line that represents the capacity for the selected resources. From the looks of it, there seems to be some available capacity in this group. There's also a ribbon at the top of this Project Web App window and a quick launch menu on the left side of our screen. We won't be navigating away from here in this demonstration, so let's collapse the quick launch menu to make some room to view more of our information that we are looking to analyze. Just below the histogram, the information is also provided in tabular form, where we can see the availability and capacity of each of our resources and the respective projects that they are assigned to. On the ribbon at the top, we can click on the Include Proposed Bookings button, which will have the effect of displaying not only what the selected team is currently committed to, but also any income resource requests. It's evident here that it's definitely no shortage of work for this team in the coming weeks. By unselecting the generic product engineer resource directly from within the legend, we can see where the resource demand is coming from. Now let's go use the ribbon once again to navigate to the remaining availability view. Here, this histogram will show us who is available or not. You can see that the available capacity we saw in the resource availability view before is actually coming from Aaron Painter. Let's unselect him to confirm the change in the histogram. Also note that with Include Proposed Bookings selected, we can see that the unfulfilled requests assigned to the generic product engineer resource are below the zero line. This is because the generic resource does not have any capacity. It's only there to help us capture the resource demand and therefore does not contribute to the resource capacity of the team. Let's confirm this as well by unchecking the product engineer from the legend. By unchecking the Include Proposed Bookings in the ribbon, we will see that this will have the same effect. Now, armed with this information, let's return to Project Pro and demonstrate some of the other powerful capabilities the project has to offer. In the Build Team feature, we can click on the Show Resource Availability section to enable it. Here, the date range defaults to the start and finish dates of the project, and if we so choose, we can change this date range. For this project, there are 3,813 hours required for the product engineer, as shown in the right window in the work column next to this resource. The availability of the resources in the left window is also shown next to the resource names. If we now select the Show Resource Availability of More Than and enter the hours we require from the resource, Microsoft Project will return to us the resources that meet our criteria. Notice how quickly Microsoft Project concluded the same as we did with our analysis of the various histogram that Aaron Painter is available. With this choice, we will select Aaron Painter while the product engineer is selected in the right window and click the Replace button. After we click OK, we are returned back into the project schedule where we can see that wherever we had the product engineer assigned before, now Aaron Painter is assigned instead. Given that Aaron is set up as the resource that requires that a resource engagement request be submitted when he is assigned to a project, an indicator will pop up in the Indicators column advising us of the situation. If we right-click on the indicator, then click on Fix and Engagement Inspector, a wizard launches, and one of the first things it proposes to us is that it takes us to the Task Usage view where we can see our resource assignments, indented and in italics, under the task that they are assigned to. Notice that there's a red squiggly line underlying Aaron Painter's assignments. This is a warning letting us know that the engagement request is in order. Let's use the filter in the View ribbon to isolate his assignments. We can also navigate to the resource usage view where assignments are grouped by resource. This view permits us to see a consolidated view of all of Aaron's assignments, the effort required, and the start and finish dates. Let's close the inspector pane and proceed to create the engagement request. To do so, we use the Add Engagement button, which is shown here in the resource ribbon in the insert group. Given that Aaron was the resource selected, some of the information like his name has been transcribed in the engagement information window that has just opened up. And I will place it here so that I can transcribe the start and finish dates I want to include in the request. I will enter description, the start and finish, if not already transcribed, and I will select the units option with 100%, which is equivalent to his full-time capacity, which happens to be 8 hours per working day. I could have easily chosen to enter the amount of effort using the work option in my request as well. I can add comments for the resource manager to review, and when I'm done, I will click OK. If I navigate to the resource plan view, I can see my resource engagement requests. I can see the ones for Aaron, and it's showing to be in draft. This tells me I have not submitted the engagement request yet. There's a note icon in the indicators column. Let's review it before we go ahead and submit. To submit, we click on the Submit button that is found in the Engagement tab. This tab will be displayed when the resource plan view is the active view. Notice the engagement status is set to Proposed. When a request such as this is submitted, the resource manager can be notified electronically that there's a request that has been submitted for them to review. We will now proceed to impersonate the resource manager. Let's go back to PWA, short for Project Web App. But this time, we'll start in the Resource Center where the Resource Manager's team has been selected, and then click on the Resource ribbon, which reveals the Resource Request button. This will bring up the list of engagement requests. Here, the Resource Manager can review engagement requests and approve, reject, or propose an alternate resource instead. Aaron's status for this request, as you can see, is set to Proposed. Let's go ahead and isolate the request for Aaron by collapsing the other requests. I will click the Resource Availability button, which will take me to the same set of views we were looking at earlier. Another one of these views is the Capacity and Heat Map view. A threshold has been set for over-allocated resources and are displayed with red, under-allocated in blue, and fully committed in green. From this heat map, we notice that the Resource Manager has done an excellent job of ensuring his resources are not overcommitted and showing in red. We can also see that Aaron is showing in blue, which means that he has availability, and it makes sense to approve the engagement request. Let's return to the Resource Request window and select the checkbox next to Aaron's name and then click Approve. As the Resource Manager, we can include messages back to the Project Manager who initiated this request. Notice the status of the request has been set to Committed. In turn, a notification will be sent to the Project Manager alerting him or her. In this case, we simply go to the Refresh button. Notice how the status changes from Proposed to Committed. We also review the comment the Resource Manager submitted and continue to add notes if we so choose. Now, if we turn to the Gantt, we notice that those yellow engagement indicators are no longer there. While the engagements were in the proposed state, the indicators were displayed in gray. Note, if the Project Manager creates an assignment which is outside the approved engagement request, the Project Manager will have the engagement indicators appear, thus alerting him or her to take appropriate action. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions or would like some help in implementing the solution. Thanks for watching, and goodbye for now.